welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhodes and I'm here to get you started on Unit 26, R-controlled vowels with AR. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your orange book open to page 161. You will also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your paper. Please save room for a key as well. If at any point I'm moving too fast, please pause the video and catch up. All right, so we are done with our discussion of advanced vowels. We talked about diphthongs like ow and oi. We talked about some advanced vowel sounds like ah or So now we are ready for our R-controlled vowels. Now you've already noticed this, I'm sure. When a vowel, like A, E, I, O, or U, is followed by an R, it makes a totally new sound. It's like that R is controlling it. So it no longer makes a short vowel sound or a long vowel sound. So all of our words this week will contain an A that is being controlled by the R. So we're going to think of that AR chunk as one sound that says R. So let's start by reading our list. And as we do, use your ears to listen for that R sound and use your eyes to look for that AR chunk. All right, please repeat after me. Army, artist, farther, garlic, garnish, guard, hardly, heart, large, marble, partner, party, remark, sparkle, tardy. Did you find that AR in each word? Great. So you'll notice I already went ahead and used those purple vertical lines to mark my syllable breaks on the 2-syllable words. I didn't need it for 1-syllable words like guard and heart. If you want to pause the video and add your own syllable breaks, feel free to do that now. Okay, so what I want to do next is I want to look for that AR chunk in each word. So we see it at the end of the first syllable in army and artist. So there's proof that AR can show up at the beginning of a word. We see it tucked into the middle of a syllable in farther, garlic, garnish, okay? Proof here that AR can show up at the end of a syllable. We see it in the middle of guard and hardly. I'm going to skip number 8 for now. We see it in large, marble, partner, party. Notice sometimes it's in the middle of a syllable and sometimes it's at the end. Remark, sparkle, and tardy. So whenever you see AR at the beginning of a word or the end of a stressed syllable or tucked into the middle of a syllable, it's going to say R. The exception would be with a word like molar or alter. Notice in these words that AR sounds more like You only see that in an unstressed syllable. But that's something we're going to worry about in 4th grade. For now, let's focus on that R sound. So over here, blue box equals AR chunk. And that AR chunk is going to make one sound, R. Okay. What do I want to talk about next? Oh, let's go back to that EAR. Now this is very strange. You know we have some very confusing letter combinations in our language. For instance, we've talked about O-U-G-H and the many sounds it can make. Well, the same thing is true with E-A-R. Sometimes E-A-R sounds like ear in a word like year or here or dear. That's probably the most common pronunciation. Sometimes it can sound like in a word like earn or learn or yearn. Well, now we're finding out that it can also sound like R in a word like heart. So we have heart, year, and earn. Those same 3 letters with 3 different pronunciations. Heart is the only word I can think of that uses E-A-R to make an R sound. So you just want to memorize that. If you ever come across a word you've never seen before and it has E-A-R in it, try that ear sound first. That's much more common. Okay? But this week, while we're practicing, we need to know that the E-A-R chunk can also sound like R. Okay? They're both making that same sound. Now, I want to do a little review with the letter G. Several weeks ago, we talked about the difference between hard G and soft G. We said that hard G says G, and it's followed by the vowels A, O, and U, as well as some consonants like L and R. We said that soft G makes a J sound, and it is always followed by E, I, or Y. Soft G never shows up by itself at the end of a word. So on our list this week, we have a soft G right here in large. And notice there's a silent E there. It's not a bossy E. It's not doing anything to the vowels. It's just keeping that G soft so it says J. Okay? So over here, green box equals soft G. Now, we have some other G's this week, and they are hard. So G-A, gar, nothing tricky there. G-A, gar, and garnish. But look at this. For some reason, we have G-U-A. What is that U doing there? G-A by itself should say gar, right? G-A-R should say gar. We learned several weeks ago that sometimes you have to put a little U in there as a buffer zone when you're trying to spell words like guide or guilty or guess or guest. And that makes sense because we need that U to keep the G and the I apart, or the G and the E apart, so they're not softening the G. That's not a problem here. So why is that U there? I don't know. It's just something that you're going to have to memorize, right? Why can garlic be spelled with G-A-R? Garnish can be spelled with G-A-R, but guard needs a U because our language is wacky, right? So, pink box equals hard G. I don't see any others this week. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about vocabulary. Let's make sure we know what all of our words mean this week. Starting with army. That's a noun, that's a thing, right? The army is a branch of our military. So I'm going to write soldiers. Because when we think about the army, we think about soldiers dressed in camouflage, ready to protect our country, right? We have several branches in our military. We have the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard, the army, okay? So it's a branch of the military. It's made up of soldiers. Their job is to protect our country. An artist is a noun, right? That's a person who's very creative and they like to draw things or paint things or make things out of clay. Farther is an adverb. Farther means more far, right? Now, I think we've talked about adverbs before, and we know that adverbs add detail or description to a verb. So I can tell you that I walked, or I can tell you that I walked far. I can tell you that I walked farther than I did yesterday. Far and farther are both describing how I walked, and therefore they are adverbs. Garlic is a noun. It's something that we use to season our food. So it's a little bulb. So it's a plant that gets dug out of the dirt. But I'm just gonna say a food that adds flavor. And it has a strong flavor and a strong smell. Some people love garlic. They put lots of garlic in their cooking when they're making soups or stews or sauces. Some people don't like garlic. Garnish can be a noun, but it can also be a verb. But they both have to do with decorating your plate. So I'm going to write plate decoration. If you go to a fancy restaurant, they're going to make sure that the food they serve you tastes good, right? But they also want to make sure that that food looks good. And so they might add a little bit of garnish to it. Maybe you've got meat and potatoes and a little sprig of parsley. Or maybe they have some shredded carrots. Any little decorations that they put on your plate to make it look nice and more appetizing is garnish. So they can use garnish or they can garnish your plate. A guard is a person. It's a person who protects you or protects, maybe a warehouse hires guards to walk around and monitor and make sure everything's safe. So a guard can be a person who protects others. But it can also be used as a verb because you can guard your house. You can guard your bowl of ice cream, right? You can protect it. Your dog might guard your house. So it just means to protect. Hardly is another adverb. And it means barely, like almost not at all, right? So I ate hardly any dinner yesterday. Notice I'm describing how I ate or how much I ate, right? I ate hardly any dinner. It just means a little bit. Heart is a noun, right? That's an important organ in our body that pumps blood to the rest of our body. Large is a describing word. So that's an adjective, right? Adverbs, ADV, add detail to verbs. Adjectives, ADJ, add detail to nouns. So, large can be used to describe a large box, a large shirt, a large surprise. It just means big. A marble is a noun, right? So in the olden days, kids used to play marbles at recess. They'd have the little glass balls and they would shoot them and try to earn other people's marbles. So that's a thing. It can be used as a describing word as well. Sometimes people have a marble countertop or a marble birthday cake. It just means like it's a mix of colors. Partner is a noun. That's a person who works with you or plays with you. A party is a noun. I suppose you could also use that as a verb. You can say, oh, we're going to party this weekend. We're going to have so much fun. Remark is a noun, and it can also be used as a verb. If you remark on something, you comment on it. So if mom makes you a dinner, she's trying out a new recipe, and you're like, oh, this tastes horrible. That's a rude remark, right? Your mom might say, you know what, I worked hard on this dinner. Keep your remarks to yourself. She doesn't want you commenting, right? A remark can be a positive thing or a negative thing, right? It just means something that someone says. Sparkle can be a thing. Sometimes girls have sparkles in their hair or sparkles on their face or sparkles on their dresses, right? They're just like little colorful, like, I don't know, like pieces of glitter. But to sparkle, right? So your eyes sparkle. Stars sparkle. It just means they give off bright light. Tardy is an adjective. If you are tardy, that means you are late. Okay, if you show up 20 minutes after school starts, the secretary is going to mark you tardy, right? You're not on time. Okay, so lots of great vocabulary this week. I don't think the spelling is going to be tricky for you because except for heart, all of our words use AR, nothing tricky there. You are going to have to remember the U in guard, but the endings are all very common. You're used to that LE ending, the ER ending, the Y ending, the IC ending. So there's nothing tricky or new there. I do have a new suffix for you though. When you open your book to page 164, you'll notice that we have a bunch of adjectives: dark, sharp, hard, soft, loose. We can turn those into verbs by adding the EN suffix. So for instance, I can take a word like hard, right? I can say, oh, I took the cookies out of the oven and they are very hard. That's a describing word. But I can also say, you know what, I just took the cookies out, don't touch them, I need to give them time to harden. So if something hardens, it gets hard. I can take a word like dark, which is a describing word, right? Like we turn out the lights and now it's dark. But we can change it to a verb by adding EN. I think I'm going to go back and darken my picture. I'm going to color it in a little bit darker. We can take a word like sharp. I could say, oh, my pencil's not very sharp. I think I have to sharpen it. We add EN. So adding that EN suffix to an adjective turns it into a verb, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to add the EN suffix to each of these words, and then this will be your word bank, and you will match these words to their definitions below. Okay? All right, that's all I have for you today. Good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.